Show, Mr. McLeod Mondaya, Mr. McLeod here, and today's lesson will be VTI B form positive phrases. So we're learning about dependent clause or dependent clauses. So a recap on B form dependent clauses. We've talked about this on a couple occasions in our VII unit and VAI unit, and so we're going to apply that knowledge to our VTIs. So just as we learned about inflecting VII and VAI words in A form and B form, today's class will be about learning B form inflections for VTI words. So far, we've been learning how to express A form independent clauses with our VTI words. A clause is a part of the sentence that contains a verb, also known as a predicate. In Nishnaabemwin, we have A form, B form, and C form. A form, or independent clause, is simply a phrase that contains a noun, also known as the subject, and a verb, predicate, that makes sense on its own without any further information. For example, the phone is broken. That's our clause. It contains the noun, the phone, which is the subject, and the predicate, the verb. In English, that word is, but in Ojibwe, it's broken. That's the verb. So independent clauses versus dependent clauses. An example of an independent clause is the girl is eating rice. It makes sense on its own without any further information. You don't need any further information to understand what is happening. Simply, the girl is eating rice. So an example of a dependent clause is if the girl is eating rice. Notice how our dependent clause feel like it needs more information. It feels incomplete when you say if the girl is eating rice. That's what makes it dependent. It relies on further information. So A form versus B form. In Nishnaabemwin, we use terms like A form, B form, and C form to describe what kind of clause we are discussing as language learners. A form independent clause is the simplest to understand and use in our speech. They're just simple sentences. This is happening, etc. B form or dependent clause is the most popular clause among native speakers' use because it shares common inflection paradigms with C form and it has the most expressive capabilities compared to other forms and clauses. A form is just kind of like a bland sentence, whereas B form you can inject some emotion into it and be a little bit more expressive with it. So B form only appears with suffixes for all four types of Nishnaabemwin verbs. So VII, VAI, VTI, VTA. Their B forms are all in the form of suffixes. We never use any B form prefixes in Ojibwe that I'm aware of. So for this course, we will not have time to learn about C form. We're just focusing on A form and B form in this unit as well. So when to use B form inflections? Just like in our previous two units, VII and VAI, we will focus on B form grammar patterns to elicit B form phrases. B form grammar patterns will include an initial word. They're usually an adverb of some type that will force our verbs, currently VTI words, to inflect in B form. So the B form grammar patterns we are going to be using are, I'll have them listed here. And then an example verb we're going to use is pugdon, she or he throws it. So for example, onde plus B form means where. So we got onde gi pugdot nene is seen. So where did the man throw the rock? So we got where is onde. Gi is past tense, did. The blue here is the man, nene. pugdo is throw, and isin is the rock. So we can see how that breaks down there, color coded for you guys. So ondagi pugdot ninisinin, or ninisin. So where did the man throw the rock? Next is our grammar pattern ondewenje plus B form, and that means why. So it's important to take note that when you see a grammar pattern with a dash after it, that means our verb takes place right after that dash. So like sometimes we can put words in between our adverbs and our verbs. For this one, you have ondewenje, it goes straight into the verb. So keep note of that. So we got ondewenje pugdot ninisinin. Where is the man throwing the rock? And that's all color coded there for you to illustrate what everything means and the order. Next we have onwe plus B form, means even though. Notice we don't have a dash here, so you can put different kind of words in between there. So onwe pugdot ninisin, even though the man is throwing the rock. Onwe pugdot ninisin. Next, we have a pagish plus B form. This means I wish. So a pagish gi pugdot ninisin. I wish the man threw the rock. So I didn't take this up before, but this green suffix here that we've replaced that last end with, that's one of our B form suffixes. We'll learn about those later on. And because gi is past tense and threw is the past tense version of throw, I just made that middle part in the word throw an E and made it purple for past tense. Next one is gishben plus B form, means if. So gishben pugdot ninisin. Gishben pugdot ninisin, if the man throws the rock. So this would be a good time to take a screenshot if you need this for your notes. Time to move on to the second part of our grammar patterns. So we're going to keep the same verb, throw, pugdon. So j plus B form means to or so. So that j should have a dash because j goes right into the verb. Like so. Jigshke pugdot ninisin. So the man can throw the box. So j means to or so, depending on context. And then this is a preverb. Usually it's pronounced shke, but if there's a vowel before it, like this, j, then you use that kind of sneaky G there that pops up. It only pops up for vowel sounds. So jigshke pugdot ninisin. So the man can throw the rock. And so shke in front of a verb means can or able to. Jibois plus B form means before, and it doesn't have a dash, so word order is a little bit more flexible. Jibois pugdot ninisin. Jibois pugdot ninisin, before the man throws the rock. Next we have megwa plus B form, means while. Megwa pugdot ninisin. Megwa pugdot ninisin, while the man throws the rock. Next we have naj plus B form, means until. And again, no dashes in these, so word order is a little bit more flexible. Naj pugdot ninisin. Naj pugdod ninisin, until the man throws the rock. I believe this is the last one. P plus B form means when. So no dash, a little bit more flexible with the word order. P pugdot ninisin. P pugdot ninisin, when the man throws the rock. Oops. I should probably leave that up there for you guys for a few seconds so you guys can screenshot that for your notes. All right, let's move on. So B form paradigms for VTI words and VTI forwards. So these share a lot of the same paradigms and they share B forms. Now again, so we're using Jeakwan, open it, and Yan, have it. As Jeakwan, it's got that AN ending, that's our VTI 1, and Yan has a AAN ending, it's a VTI 4. And notice that last N there has been grayed out, so we're probably going to replace that N with our B form suffixes from our paradigms. So we're going to have our inflection patterns over here and then our examples on this side. So the first person singular, that's the I or me. You can have a tense marker in front, then your verb, jeakwa, getting rid of that. And then our suffix for first person singular is mon. So we're going to replace that N sound with a mon sound. And same thing with this VTI 4. So gishbin gi jeakwaman imkuk. Gishbin gi jeakwaman imkuk. If I opened the box. So gi is our past tense here before the verb. It's been grayed there. And then our P form suffix for first person singular is mon. Imkuk. Gishbin gi jeakwaman imkuk. If I opened the box. So it's all color coded there for you. And then gishbin yaman imkuk. Gishbin yaman imkuk. If I have a box. Alright, moving on to second person singular. So instead of a mon suffix, we have a mun suffix. So same pattern as our first person singular. We're just changing our mons to muns. So gishbin wi jeakwaman imkuk. Gishbin wi jeakwaman imkuk. If you want to open the box. So again, that's all color coded. Gishbin, if we want to, jeakwa, open, mun, you, imkuk, the box. And then we have the VTI 4 version. Gishbin wi ya mun imkuk. Gishbin wi ya mun imkuk. If you want to have a box. And then our third person singular. So instead of a mun ending, we're just going to have an ng ending. So here's our first example. Gishbin jeakwang nene imkuk. Gishbin jeakwang nene imkuk. If the man is opening the box. So notice we don't have a tense marker here, so it's in present tense now. And then everything else is color coded. So our subject here, the man, nene is in green, the man. And then our VTI 4 example. Gishbin yang nene imkuk. Gishbin yang nene imkuk. If the man has the box. So I'll leave that there for you guys. A second there for you guys to take a screenshot or. Moving on to the second part of our B forms for VTI 1 and 4s. Oh geez, I don't know why I must have forgot to put in the animations for that. So we're going to do the we's on one slide here. So first person plural, instead of a mon ending, we're going to use mong, like the word for loon, mong, at the end of our VTIs, and replace those ends with those suffixes. So if we open the box. So if we open the box. So this is present tense. We can try and figure that out. So our word for if is gishbin. Then we would just go into our verb, jeakwa. And then we replace that end sound with a mong. So jeakwa mong And then the word for the box is imkuk. So gishbin jeakwamong imkuk. Right there. Next one, if we have the box. So I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to formulate your own translation for this one. See if you can do it on your own. So everything on the screen is all you need to translate this clause. All right. So the translation for if we have the box is Gishbin ya mong imkuk. Gishbin ya mong imkuk. So we just have gishbin, then our verb, place that end sound with our suffix mong, and then imkuk, the box. Moving on to our 2-to-1 person, if we all open the box. So again, it should be the same. We're just replacing mong with mung. So our translation should be Gishbin jeakwamung imkuk. And there we go. Gishbin jeakwamung imkuk. And then we have if we all have the box. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate on your own, and then we'll take it up. All right, so we're going to take that up now. So the translation, if we all have the box, should be Gishbin ya mung imkuk. Gishbin ya mung imkuk. So we're just replacing our mongs with mungs. And those are the 2 we's. We're going to move on to second person plural and third person plural. All right, so our verbs, our suffixes are just meg and mwad. All right, so we're just replacing those ends with either meg or mwad. So if you all want to open the box. So if we want to translate if you all want to open the box, want to is our indefinite future tense, we. So that goes in front of the verb. So it would be if is gishbin, then we'd have our tense marker we, then our verb for open jeakwa, then you all is meg, and then the box is imkuk. So gishbin we jeakwa meg imkuk should be our translation for this one. And that's what we got right here. Gishbin we jeakwa meg imkuk. All right. So the next one, if you all want to have a box. If you all want to have a box. So we're basically following this pattern here. We're just replacing jeakwa with ya. So I'll give you a second to translate that on your own. All right. So the translation for if you all want to have a box is Gishbin we ya meg imkuk. Gishbin, let's see here. Gishbin we ya meg imkuk. Moving on to our third person plurals. So we have if the men are opening the box. So for here, we could say for if is gishbin, the men, ninwug, are opening the box. So this is present tense. We don't need a tense marker. So gishbin, ninwug, jeakwamwad, imkuk. Gishbin, ninwug, jeakwamwad, imkuk. And that's, well, we got the ninwuk over here. So word order isn't too strict here, but just as long as you put the suffixes on the right verb or right word, which is the verb. So we got gishbin jeakwamwad ninwuk imkuk. So if the men are opening the box. So now we got if the men have the box. So I'm going to leave this up to you guys to translate. Remember, we were just placing jeakwa with ya. So it's all the work's pretty much done for you there. All right, so let's take that up. It should be Gishbin yam wad ninwak imkuk. Or you could say Gishbin ninwak yam wad imkuk. So that's how you say if the men have the box. Again, this is all just modeling how Ojibwe sentences and clauses are structured for you guys, so you can input your own nouns and verbs as necessary to reflect your own situations. All right, now we're moving on to our VTI 2s and 3 words. So if you'll notice here, VTI 2, pugdon, VTI 2, double O-O-N ending, VTI 3, I-N ending. So we grade out the ends again for our B form suffixes. So we're going to have our inflection patterns over here and examples over here. So first person singular, we could have our tense, verb, and then instead of mon, we're going to use yon at the end of our verbs. I think we would probably get rid of that I sound for our VTI 3s as well, just because of the stress pattern. Yeah. So for first person, Gishpin gi pugdoyan imkuk. Gishpin gi pugdoyan imkuk. If I threw the box. Gishpin if. Gi past tense. Pugdo throw. Yan I or me. Imkuk the box. Gishpin gi pugdoyan imkuk. If I threw the box. Second person singular now. Oh, sorry, our VTI 3s. So just as I said earlier, we got rid of that I for our third last consonant rule. So Gishbin nad yan imkuk. Gishbin nad yan imkuk if I fetch the box. So we have the last consonant here, second last, third last, verb in front, short behind, get rid of it. All right, so second person singular, same pattern. We're just replacing our yawns with yuns. And same thing with our VTI 3, probably get rid of that I sound there. So Gishben we pugdo yan nim kakan. Gishben we pugdo yan nim kakan. And so Gishben, if we, indefinite future, means want to. Pugdo, throw. Yan, you. Nim kakan, so we expanded here, and that means the boxes. So with VTI, with B forms, if your inanimate nouns pluralized, you don't have to worry about pluralizing the verb. It's just it's easier that way. There's no plural B form suffix that I'm aware of. So, and then for our VTI 3, Gishbin we nadyan nim kakan. Gishbin we nadyan nim kakan. So if you want to fetch the boxes. Gishbin, if we want to. Nod, not in, fetch. Yan, you. Nim kakan, the boxes. And then third person singular, we're just replacing our ends with D's. So this I here, we're going to keep that I here this time, because of our third last consonant rule. If this is a D, that's the last consonant, second last, third last, no vowel sound here. And that's a long vowel sound, so we don't drop that. So, Gishbin pugdod nene imkuk. Gishbin pugdod nene imkuk. If the man throws the box. Gishbin, if pugdo throws nene, the man, imkuk, the box. So same thing for our VTI 3s. We're just going to replace that N with a D sound. Gishbin nadid nene imkuk. Gishbin nadid nene imkuk. If the man fetches the box. Gishbin, if nadin or nade, fetch, nene, the man, imkuk, the box. So I'll leave that on here for a few seconds for you guys to take a screenshot for your notes. All right, moving on to our we's. All right. So again, for this one here, we notice that the IN has been both been grayed out, so we're getting rid of both those for both these inflections, for both these suffixes, and the N's been grayed out here as usual. So first person plural, tense, verb, and then yang instead of mong. And then 2 to 1 person, tense, verb, and then young instead of mung. All right, so we're gonna have our sentences here, and then we're gonna have Ojibwe or English first, and then translate in Ojibwe. So if we throw the box, so I'm gonna follow our pattern. So gishben is if, then we go into our verb, pugdo, no end sound, pugdo yang. So gishben pugdo yang im kuk, because we're just singular box. So let's see what pops up. Gishben pugdo yang im kuk. There we go. So let's I'll give you the English for the next one, and then you can translate it. So if we fetch the box, so remember we're getting rid of that IN ending with our yang ending. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate. All right, let's take up that translation now. So your translation should be Gishbin nad yang im kuk. Gishbin nad yang im kuk. So we got Gishbin if, nod is our verb, and we got rid of that IN. We replaced the IN with the yang ending. Gishbin nad yang im kuk, the box. Next is our 2 to 1 person. So we're going to pluralize our noun now. So if we all throw the boxes. So I'm going to translate this one for you guys, show you how it's done. So gishben is if, then we go to our verb, pugdo, then we replace that end sound with a young. So gishben pugdo young, and then the box is ni, because it's plural, and then mkakan, nimkakan. So all together, gishben pugdo young nimkakan. And I forgot to change the verb there. It should say pugdo. So gishben pugdo yang nimkakan. And I'm scared to see if the other one hasn't been changed yet either. So if we all fetch the boxes, so I'll give you a few seconds to translate that on your own. Hopefully I didn't put in, hopefully I put in the right verb for this one. All right, so let's see what if I made another mistake on these. Yep, I made a mistake. I didn't change this one. My apologies. So it should say gishbin nad young nimkakan. Gishbin nad young nimkakan. All right, moving on. Hopefully these ones have the right verbs. I'd be really embarrassed if they're not. All right. So our translation is if you all want to throw the box. So remember, want to is our indefinite future tense we. So it'll be gishbin we pugdo yeg im kuk. Gishbin we pugdo yeg im kuk. There we go. So gishbin we pugdo yeg im kuk. Next one, I'll get you guys to translate. If you all want to fetch a box. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate that. All right, so let's take that up there. So you should have replaced that IN with the yeg. So it should say gishbin. Geez, I didn't even change the right verb on that one. So gishbin we nod yeg imkuk. Gishbin we nod yeg imkuk. Moving on to our third person plural there now. I don't have much faith in this one right now. But we're just replacing that N and IN with wad sounds. So if the men are throwing the boxes, so that should be gishbin, and we don't have a tense marker, so gishbin pugdowad ninwug nimkakan. So this is pluralized here, so it should say nimkakan instead of imkuk. And I got that one translated, so gishbin pugdowad ninwug nimkakan. All right, so I think this will be our last translation for this lesson. But if the men are fetching the boxes. So we're just replacing pugdo with nod. We don't need that IN there because we're just going to take it out because we're a bunch of vowel droppers, syncopators. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate that. All right, so let's take this up. So if the men are fetching the boxes, it should be gishbin nod wad ninwag nimkakan. And that's what we got here. Gishbin nod wad ninwag nimkakan. So notes on syncopation. In this lesson, we only experienced vowel dropping with our VTI 3 words, nod in to nod inflections, except for our third person singular inflections, nodded, because of the stress patterns. Most VTI 1 words will maintain their short A sound at the end of AN. So like for example, jea kwan, that AN at the end, during B form inflections, but keep an eye out for stress patterns that would require it to be dropped. For example, translate it akanotan versus if I translate it gishbin akanot mon. So remember, third last consonant rule. So N is the last one, M is second last, T is the third last. There's a vowel sound here, and that A is a short sound. So that's when we'd get rid of that one. So in summary, B form phrases don't inherently make sense on their own because they're dependent clauses. They rely on further information. This could be some adverbs will help it make sense on its own. You just can't say stuff like jea quamon and expect a speaker to understand you're trying to say like I'm opening something. For the purposes of your learning, I will try to restrict B-form inflections to the grammar patterns shared in this lesson. B-form inflections are strictly suffixes for all verbs in Nishnaabemwin. There are no additional inanimate plural noun suffixes attached to our verb phrases that Mr. McLeod knows of. Just pluralize the pronoun and nouns as necessary. So change your is to nis and pluralize your nouns with the appropriate suffixes. So in summary again, tenses can also be used with B-form inflections by attaching the appropriate prefix to the verb. B-form inflections do not interfere with this because one is a prefix and the other is a suffix. VTI 1 and 4's words have identical B-form inflection patterns, and they are reminiscent of our VAI 2 and VAI 3 inflections. So they would use the sounds like mon and mun in both sets of verbs. VTI 2 and 3's words have identical B form inflection patterns as well, and they are reminiscent of our VAI and VAO inflections, where they would use that Y sound, yan, yun, yang, young, etc. Syncopation mostly appears throughout our VTI 3 B form inflections and sometimes for our VTI 1 words. So misaye nongum, that's it for now. And now we're going to go into our worksheet so you know what's expected. All right, so we have a good old-fashioned match the English translation to our VTI word translations. And so, yeah. If you don't know them, again, just use the dictionary. So, nok nadon. Nok nadon. So you type that into the search. Nok nadon. Enter. Nok nadon means chase something. So we're looking for chase it. There you go. You put an A here. Cross that out because you won't need it now. And so, yeah, that's how you do this one. I'll leave the rest for you guys to do. So true or false? If false, write the correct Ojibwe that matches the English. So in Nijnawan is Ispokdons, you all are eating vegetables. So you all, in our last lesson, we learned that's ge plus, like ge is our suffix, and then awan is our suffix, our plural suffix, awa. This has an N in front, or N in back, so the noun should be pluralized, and it's not. And so, let's see here. Does that mean vegetable? Gotta be skeptical. Zspokdons. Zspokdons. That means candy. So this is all kinds of wrong. So correct the Ojibwe that matches the English. So we need the Ojibwe to match English. So when saying you all, we need a g sound because that's second person, and then awa at the end, and it's vegetables, so plural. So, oops, forgot to say false. Highlight it there. Now we're going to correct the Ojibwe here. So put a G sound in front. Mij na one. And then it needs to be a ne. And then we need to correct the noun for vegetables. So what is vegetables in Ojibwe? So we got gittigas, or gittiganes. So gittiganes is vegetable, and then gittiganes son is vegetables. All right, so gamijna wan nigtiganes son, sorry. Gamijna wan nigtiganes son. You all are eating vegetables. All right, so now that we have that translated, I'll leave the rest for you guys to do on your own. Just a little note. I'm trying to incorporate some different words in the dictionary, and gittigas is one that might not be Nipissing dialect for vegetable. And so I'm just going to put a little asterisk next to it there, just so that you guys are aware of that. For this class, we'll use it. For other dialects, it's applicable, but it might not be the word for vegetable in this dialect. I have to find it from our speakers. All right, so I'll leave the rest of these to for you guys to do. Remember, you have to correct the Ojibwe so it matches the English. Okay, moving on. So, what kind of clause is B form and what does it mean? So, is it independent? So, what kind of clause is B form? Is it independent or dependent? Yeah, that's all that means. So is B form an independent clause or a dependent clause? In Ojibwe, we've been working on conjugating VTI words in A form. A form consists, this should be VTI, sorry, my bad. A form consists of both prefixes and suffixes. What does B form consist of? Does it consist of prefixes and suffixes, or just suffixes? So leave your answers here. So match the suffixes to the appropriate pronoun. So for first person, singular, I or me, which is our suffix for that we went over in today's lesson? So if you don't remember that, you can always go back to this one here, yan and mon. So we're looking for yan and mon, which is right here, F. Cross that out, put it here, F. All right. So again, simple enough, and we've done this before, so I'll leave the rest of these for you guys to do on your own. All right. Geez, it says VAI and it should say VTI. So match the correct B form suffix to the VTI word provided and translate what it means altogether. So we got ndon. So what kind of a VTI is that? Let's look it up. Oops. So ndon is a VTI 4 and it means swallow it. So VTI 4s, which one do they use? They use yan or mon. Let's look in our dictionary, or not our lesson here. So VTI 4s like yan and ndon, double A N endings, use the M ones. So you can circle it. Geez, just giving me a hard time today. So on your own, you can if you can find a way to circle it, this is fine. If not, you can just type it all together here. So the N has been grayed out for you guys, so you know to drop it. Nda mon. And so nda mon means like if, when, etc. I swallow it. All right. So that's how you can. So you put it all together here. So the verb plus the suffix here, and then you translate into English. And then you could always write. You can write some sort of word in front here, like if, when, etc. Or not etc. But if, when, even though, to, so, then the pronoun, verb, and then inanimate, it. All right, so I'll leave the rest of these for you guys to do on your own. Keep an eye out for what's grayed and what's not. All right, so this is just a summary of our grammar patterns, just to give you a heads up. All right, so akanota ne Nishnaabemwin. So I like to eat meat. So we didn't learn I like to verb or whatever in our grammar patterns, but it is up here in minwendon plus B form. So we have minwendon wisnayan means I like to eat, but remember, if we specify what we're eating, we have to use a different verb than wisne. So we can use in minwendon, then our verb, which is eat, meat. So that's mijin. And so that's a VTI 3 with that IN at the end. And VTI 3s use, so VTI 3 is like not in, mijin, use the Y, be like B form suffixes. So it's I like to eat. So we need to make this an I phrase. Meej yan. Get rid of both the in. I, and then the word for meat. We yas. And Min Dan, I like meej yan to eat ewias meat. All right. So I just translated that for you guys, and I'll leave the rest of these for you guys to do on your own. And then we have section 8 here, Akanotan ne ejagna shimyan. So that is translate these into English. So we got a pegish be mis yang in dum the wag none. Well, that should be a ne right there, because that's pluralized, but whatever. So a pegish be mis yang ne dum the wag none. All right. So pegish, if you don't know what that means, you can look it up in the dictionary or right here. Pegish plus B form means I wish. So I wish babies. So that's the baby. And that's yang. So we know NGs is our B form suffix here. For which though? Let's see here. So BNGs suffix right here for third person singular for VTI 4. So we have. So I wish the baby had ndamnawagnan. So there's no vowel there. So let's just copy ndamnawag and see what the dictionary will complete it as. Ndamnawagan is toy. And then with an A extra AN there, it's toys. So I wish the baby had toys. Boom, just like that. All right. So again, I'll leave the rest of these for you guys to translate on your own, and we'll move on. All right. So now we're going to pick our own verbs and then conjugate them in B form in Ojibwe and then translate them into English. So we're making our own. So we have our VTI 1s that we're going to use for here. You're going to pick a VTI 2 for here, 3, and then that's it. So I am going to pick, let's change things up with a VTI 2. Oops. Dash space VTI 2, enter. Let's see here. All right. So since my boy is young and I'm changing his diapers a lot, let's go with change. On tone. Did I put the word for diaper in here? No. So you guys are going to learn a new word here today. So we're going to go with gespin. And then our verb is tone. So tone is a VTI 2. We get rid of that N sound. Then use our suffixes. So first person singular is a yawn. Tone yawn. I. And then diaper is Oz yawn. So that means gishpin if I change the diaper. Boom, just like that. So we can select all, copy, oops, paste, oops. And so for second person plural, we're just getting rid of one A at the end. Gishpin anch to yan, yan. And that means if you change the diaper. Now we're getting rid of that suffix for a D sound. Gishpin anch tod yan. So you put in let's see here. nene man. Gishben anj tod e azyan. Or gishben anj tod nene e azyan. If the man changes the diaper. Now we're moving into our plural, so first person plural. Instead of a yon ending, we're just going to add a G to the end. There we go. Boom. Done. Translate. If we change the diaper. Again, for this 2 to 1 person, it's a young ending, so we're just going to get rid of that A and add a G. If we all change the diaper. It's one tough baby that requires a lot of people to change a diaper. All right. Second person plural. That is yeg. Gishben anj to yeg e azyan. If you all change the diaper. So if you're unsure about these suffixes, just go back to our lesson here and look at the suffixes we're using. All right. So make sure you're looking at the right VTI 1, 2, 3, or 4s at the top of the screen, and then the right suffixes for the right pronouns. And then the last one. It's wad at the end. Gishben anj to wad, and then we'll go ninwag. Gishben anj to wad ninwag e azyan. If the men change the diaper. All right, so that's me modeling how to do one verb. So I want you to pick your own verbs and nouns and do them for VTI 1, 2, and 3. Aha miigwech misayed no aja miigwech minabasindweg. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening. Thank you all for listening to me. And as always, I want to put the link to the dictionary in the description of this video. Also, too, I want to put links to the PDF and Microsoft Word versions of the worksheets in there in the description, and links to the audio files for you guys to transcribe and translate, so you can work on your listening skills and apply the knowledge you learned from today's lesson with those recordings. Aha, Bamapi.